Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make a homemade mini forge. I'm going to be using an old boiler tank which I found at one of the local scrap yards. It's a nice little tank and just about the right size. What I'm going to do is decide where to cut it off, and I'm going to use one of my old knives that I made and decide how far the blade needs to go in. So I'm going to cut it off about here. I'm just going to mark it out. I'll use my angle grinder to chop off the remaining parts, give it a wipe down first. What I'm going to want to do is have a base layer of stone at the end of the tank, and I want the blade to be able to be fully submerged in the actual hole of the forge. I'll just mark this out all the way around so I get a nice clean cut. For this I'll be using my safety gear of a welding helmet, and I'll just be using my angle grinder with a standard metal cutting blade. Nice and easy for the job. Just saw it all the way around, try and keep the line straight as you can, then you've got a nice clean finish at the end. There we go. A nice little pot for our forge. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up the edges and take off all the little burrs of metal which are left over from the angle grinding. I'm just using my belt sander on this. Nice and easy. Give it a quick clean up. Then once that's done, we'll just get some sandpaper, just polish off the edges, and then we can move on to the next bit. To mount the blowtorch, I'm using a piece of pipe I found lying around with a little nipple on the end. You can just go down to any hardware store and find one which matches the same size as the end of your propane burner. I'm going to need an extra few inches of pipe because it's going to go straight through the cladding into the actual main chamber of the forge, while the nipple is sticking outside, which I can then insert the propane burner into. So I'm just going to get my angle grinder and chop this off. There we go. Lovely jubbly. And now we've got the perfect little mounting pipe for our propane burner. Awesome. I used a cobalt drill bit to drill a few holes to make the next part easier. And using a hole cutter, I'm going to make the mounting space for the burner. Beautiful. Now just to check that the pipe fits in nicely. Wonderful. Now to create the lining of the forge. I'm using a 50-50 mix of plaster of Paris and just regular sand which I collected from the beach. The sand in the mix will give it a little extra heat resistance. Slowly add water, and just add enough water to make it into a clay-like consistency. You don't want the mixture to be too runny, and you don't want it to be too dry either. Now we don't want the pipe to get blocked, so what I've done is I've stuffed an old rag into the pipe to keep it from blocking up. Luckily the hole is just the right size, so when I jammed the pipe in, it stayed in position. You want the pipe to be about 1 inch from the top and about 2 inches from the base, so when the forge is complete it will make a nice spiral of fire in the inner chamber. Now wearing gloves, because this part gets messy, start creating the back wall of the forge. Just scoop in the 50-60 mixture like so. You'll want the base of the forge to come up to the bottom of the pipe, so you're not going to block it in. Once the base is slightly set, you need to make the walls of the forge. I'm using an old PVA glue bottle as the mould, and I'm going to build the walls around it. When that's in place, scoop in the filling and leave it to set. A good rule of thumb is you need a minimum of a 1 inch thick wall. When it's about half set, remove the mould, and then you'll have the walls of your forge. I should note here that I did make a stand for the forge, but I'm afraid the footage got lost. I basically just drilled a few pieces of metal to the side of the forge and stuck it on a raised platform. If you can just make out in here, you can see the location of the hole, and that's where the flames are going to enter the forge. It's a perfect fit. But now you're going to want to unblock the pipe. So I used a round file, but you can use a stick. Just make sure the pipe is completely unblocked, and then you have your homemade forge. The last thing to do is to fire it up. The first firing will drive all of the moisture from the forge walls, and it will burn quite cold until all the moisture is evaporated. All that's left is to give it a good old clean up and get some of that plaster of Paris off the outside walls. Now just sit back and enjoy your creation. Thank you very much for watching this video. This is the first tutorial I've made, as it's a bit scratchy and rough around the edges, but there'll be many more tutorials to come. I'm an avid knife maker, and I enjoy making knives out of old steel found lying around and old saw blades, and there'll be many more videos on how to do that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and the subscribe button, and there'll be many more videos to come. Thank you very much.